With a career spanning more than 30 years, actor Rob Lowe is revered as one of Hollywood's leading men. His breakout performance in The Outsiders launched a flourishing career in both film and television. He received critical acclaim for his portrayal of Sam Seaborn on the Emmy-winning series The West Wing, and currently plays the enthusiastic Chris Traeger on the sitcom Parks and Recreation. He lives in Santa Barbara, California, with his wife Cheryl and their 2 sons, John Owen and Matthew.
I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Dayton, Ohio. I always wanted to be an actor. And when my parents divorced, my mom remarried. We found ourselves in Southern California, in Malibu. I was 12. So my teenage years were sort of formed in Malibu and trying to start my career in a very, very cultural shift from coming from the Midwest. But family history was never really discussed growing up. I'm not really sure why that was, and as a kid, I didn't really care. Now, as I get older, I wonder, and you start to think about who you are and where you've come from. I start thinking about what resonates for me. Why have I always been so in love with Americana, patriotism, and politics? And then I end up on a show called The West Wing, which plays to those themes every day. And when I first read, I felt I was literally born to play. Why am I interested in what I'm interested in? When I was first thinking about going on this journey, I was wondering, well, would I follow my father's side? Or would I follow the maternal side with my mother? And I'm so blessed to still have my dad in my life. But my mom passed away a number of years ago, and it left me wishing I'd asked her more. And she was really the last member of that wing of our family, and it's all gone. And so I would really like to know where we've come from. So it's gonna mean a lot to me to share this with the last connection to that side of my family, and that's my brother. I'm gonna meet my brother Chad to pick his brain about my mom's side of the family.
So I'm off on the this road trip. Is there anything that you know that I may have forgotten?
The only thing I have is this, Mom's scrapbook. So
Let's see what we have in here. That's Mom. It's got to be maybe high school graduation or something.
yeah.
Wow, look at this. Here's Mim and Grandpa, our mom's parents.
All right, who is this?
I have no idea who these people are. Wow. Let's see if they're... It's Orrin Hepler and Bessie Mae East.
Orrin Hepler. This is our great-grandfather.
Yeah, and his wife, our great-grandmother, Bessie Mae East.
My mom's scrapbook has helped my brother Chad and me remember my great-grandparents, Orrin Hepler and Bessie Mae East. I remember hearing the name East as a kid, but what else can my mom's album tell me?
All right, let's see here. Okay, this is a clipping
Lima, Ohio.
From the Times Democrat of Lima, Ohio. 1906. The East Reunion. It was the 3rd annual for descendants of men and women who made up prosperous country.
What is that?
The descendants of Christopher East stand high in the culinary art.
Christopher East. Why is the East family reunion newsworthy?
And
I think we better figure out who Christopher East was.
you were here, look it up.
Yeah, let's go to Ancestry.com.
Christopher East, Ohio, right?
Yeah.
John Christopher East.
Wait a minute.
What do you see? Abstract of graves of revolutionary patriots. Wow.
This collection of abstract grave sites contains information originally published in the Senate documents of the National Society, Daughters of the American Revolution, veterans and patriots of the Revolutionary War, whose graves were found between 1900 and 1987 are included in this first volume. It sounds promising.
Revolutionary patriots.
So we know that Bessie Mae East, our great-grandmother, somewhere in her lineage has John Christopher East,
Right.
who turns up in conjunction with the Daughters of the American Revolution, which means they found a gravesite of his that they believe to be indicative of him serving in the Revolutionary War, but we don't know where he fits in. So it looks like I need to go to Washington and I need to go to the DAR.
All right.
All right, man.
Full report.
Love you.
Love you. Good luck.
Thanks.
So I'm off to Washington, D.C.
John Christopher East, I learned today, was a patriot. I mean, that's the stuff that I love. I mean, that's the word patriot, revolutionary. That's my dream, is to have some connection to real American heroes.
I don't know who John Christopher East is. I don't even know his relationship to Bessie Mae East, or how far back he goes in my family tree. So I'm meeting with genealogist Josh Taylor at the Daughters of the American Revolution headquarters.
I learned recently of a family member named John Christopher East.
Okay.
And we have him in a Revolutionary War patriot's grave by virtue of documents I found online.
Okay.
So my question is, how am I related to John Christopher East? And what, if anything, did he do in the Revolution?
Well, you're in the right place. You are in the research library of the Daughters of American Revolution. And to be a member of the DIR, you have to be a documented descendant of a patriot.
Right.
So they have an online database that we're actually going to take a look at to see what records might be here.
Great. So if I type in John Christopher East here and it comes up, what exactly is that going to tell us?
It means that someone has submitted an application on behalf of John Christopher East.
To be confirmed as a revolutionary
Yes.
patriot.
The DIR recognizes those who serve military and non-military service. You had to support the revolutionary cause, though.
Right, right. John Christopher. Oh my. I'm just taking in service Pennsylvania rank private.
I am actually going to go have the DAR genealogists here pull the application that have to do with John Christopher East. And they're incredible because they contain family Bibles, letters, diary entries that you might not see anywhere else but here.
Good, excellent, all right. John Christopher East, born in 1754. We're jumping way back. If we're starting here, where are we going to end up?
Rob Lowe is at the Daughters of the American Revolution headquarters in Washington, D.C., and has just located his ancestor, John Christopher East, in the DAR's genealogical database. Rob is hoping to find more information about his relationship to John Christopher East and East's involvement in the Revolutionary War.
What do you have there?
I have treasures.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Here are the original files.
Wow. Here's a family tree for John Christopher East.
There you go.
Bessie Mae. Bessie Mae. There she is.
Absolutely.
Holy Toledo. And it's already the family tree.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, look at this.
So John Christopher East is going to be your...
Great, 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 great. How many greats are we dealing with?
You're back to
how
5.
How great is this?
So he's your 5 times great-grandfather.
Wow. That is unbelievable.
Should we go to the next document?
Yeah. Let's see what we have here. 1793.
Yep.
It's a tax bill?
It's a tax list. So it's everyone in the town who is paying taxes.
What town?
So the town of Newton up here. So this is actually me in Pennsylvania, because
Yeah.
remember from the
Right.
service record, he served from
That's right.
Pennsylvania.
Well, here's East.
Okay.
Stephen? What is it? What is that word?
Stoffel. So it's S-T-O-P-H-E-L. That is actually John Christopher East.
But how do you know that?
Theoretically, if the tax list says that there's a man with a name that sounds like
Right.
John Christopher East, it's a
Particularly
process
in a town that's this small.
Absolutely, it's a process of elimination. And so oftentimes you'll find nicknames that enter in, you'll find just however they thought they could spell it phonetically.
Okay, so with all of this documentation, is there anything that signifies that he is an accepted patriot?
Well, I have some bad news for you. When I was back talking to the DA genealogist, they informed me this line has actually been closed. There's no documentation in here that actually says that John Christopher East was a patriot.
So the first one we have of private, we don't know where that...
There was a man in the same area who was named Christian-ish.
Right.
And so originally, when all the applications were submitted, they'd confused the two.
So whether my ancestor served in the Revolutionary War at this moment, we have no proof.
Nope, that's the big question.
Basically, so that's it.
Well, where one door closes, another one always opens in genealogy. I'm going to look at some of the non-military avenues to see if we can figure out a way that he might have served, and I'm going to send you off to look for the military avenues.
Where would I go next?
I'm actually going to recommend that you go to the Library of Congress. They have over 151 million items, so the largest library in the world. Part of their collections includes some significant materials on the Revolutionary War.
Great, thank you.
Good luck.
I know today that John Christopher East is my 5 times great-grandfather, but I have no evidence that he was involved in the Revolutionary War. I'm going to keep digging at the Library of Congress. I'm meeting with Revolutionary War historian Scott Stevenson. He's asked Julie Miller from the Library of Congress to pull documents pertaining to my 5 times great-grandfather, John Christopher East.
So this is an original document from the Revolutionary War.
How did this come to the Library of Congress? Do we know?
Peter Force was a collector of all kinds of documents, and so those materials were gathered together and acquired by the Library of Congress, along with the Jefferson papers, the Washington papers, the other founding collections, is a real pillar of their holdings about the Revolution.
Okay, well, it's a list of people in the military. I see corporal, sergeant, Heinhauer. That looks like something German to me, Heinhauer. Sergeant, Corporal Lowe. Oh, Christopher Ost. Christoph Ost is pretty close to Christoph East. Am I right about that?
That's right.
And what is this grouping of men?
Well, let's take a shot at the heading here. So it's Rheinischen Grenadier Regiment. This is a grenadier regiment. They were sort of assault troops commanded by a man named Rahl.
Rahl. So what we have is an original document that proves my 5 times great-grandfather served in an assault regiment in the Revolutionary War.
Yes.
Fantastic.
So this is a list of Gefangenen. This is the word that's most significant. It's a list of prisoners.
Can we find out where this was or what it's in relationship to?
I think a next step would be to try the papers of George Washington.
Literally his personal papers?
Yes, indeed.
That'd be amazing.
Those are here. They've been digitized at the Library of Congress, so anyone with internet access essentially can do searches. But I think as a special treat, maybe we'll pull the original for us to look at.
In June of 1775, George Washington took command of the Continental Army in an effort to organize rebelling colonists outraged at the British Crown for unfairly implementing taxation without representation. Washington knew he was at the forefront of one of the greatest acts of treason against Great Britain and was careful to document his every move. Today, his letters are an invaluable resource for understanding the Revolutionary War, including what they reveal about Rahl's regiment.
To Congress, 27th of December, 1776. I have the pleasure of congratulating you upon the success of an enterprise which I had formed against a detachment of enemy lying in Trenton. I find that the detachment of enemy consisted of 3 Hessian regiments. Okay, so Hessian soldiers, what I know them to be, and you tell me if I'm right, is they're mercenaries.
Technically, not mercenaries. Trained soldiers, yes. Hesse-Kassel is a region in Germany, the central part of Germany, that supplied the largest group of troops that were literally rented out by their princes during the Revolution to fight with the British.
So 3 Hessian regiments of Landspach, Kniphausen, and Roll. There he is. So those were the German Hessian commanders at the Battle of Trenton.
Yes. So let me ask you, if Christoph Ost is on a list of prisoners in a regiment commanded by Colonel Roll.
Yes, is he in the Hessian, fighting the Hessian side? So, you mean to tell me my 5 times great grandfather was trying to stick it to George Washington?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Rob Lowe is at the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. He just found out his 5 times great-grandfather was a Hessian soldier, part of a German force hired by Britain to help fight the Americans during the Revolutionary War.
It just never would occur to me that my guy's out there trying to kill George Washington.
Yes.
That would explain why he's not in the Daughters of the American Revolution gravesite. So we know my 5th great-grandfather, he's a Hessian soldier. He's a veteran of the Battle of Trenton.
Absolutely.
Wow, it's a big-time battle, too, and I don't know enough about it.
Sure. Most people might know the famous painting, Washington Crossing the Delaware, but that's the extent of their association.
So Washington Crossing the Delaware is affiliated with the Battle of Trenton. Clearly, I need to go to Trenton. Who should I talk to?
So I think you should start with the Old Barracks Museum in Trenton, and I'll arrange for you to meet a colleague up there.
Thank you for everything. I'm on my way.
So I'm off to Trenton to find out about my 5 times great-grandfather's imprisonment during the Revolutionary War.
I've always so identified with this country. Now I'm learning that I need to spend some time thinking about the people that fought against this country and why they did it and what are their stories and where's the meaning in that.
So I'm meeting with Hessian prisoner expert Daniel Krebs in hopes of uncovering the story behind my ancestors' capture at the Battle of Trenton.
Where we're seated are the old barracks.
These are the actual barracks?
The actual barracks in Trenton, taken over by Hessians during the campaign of 1776.
I'd love to know, how did he get here? What went on?
Well, we are actually very lucky that we have a very rare document here. This is a replica of a diary written by a young common soldier in the same regiment as your 5 times great-grandfather, Christopher. His name was Johannes Räuber, who came over with Christopher. They probably knew each other.
Wow.
So Räuber wrote this diary about his experiences.
It's also amazing to think that he and his fellow soldiers are not fighting for their country. They're doing their duty to their prince, who has an agreement with the Crown of Britain. It's unbelievable. 18 August. The remaining Hessian regiments were landed and also entered our camp on Staten Island near the Hessian Jaegers and English troops.
In the summer of 1776, approximately 18,000 Hessian troops landed at Staten Island and began fighting the American Continental Army in a matter of days. The fierce and disciplined German soldiers provided the British with the needed manpower to drive George Washington's army out of New York, through New Jersey, and across the Delaware into Pennsylvania. Christoph Ost's regiment set up camp in Trenton, preparing to attack Philadelphia and overtake the capital in hopes of ending the Revolutionary War.
My family ancestor is here in Trenton. He's been kicking ass all through America. George Washington is on the other side of the Delaware with his demoralized troops, and he's hoping for some kind of a Hail Mary.
Exactly.
Washington knew the Redcoats planned to march across the Delaware as soon as it was frozen and take over the American capital of Philadelphia. Congress had fled the city in panic, and many thought the war was already lost. For America to survive, there was just one thin hope: a stealth attack. On Christmas night, 1776, in what was to become one of the most defining moments in American history, Washington steered his Continental Army across the ice-choked Delaware River. The next morning at dawn, the tide of the Revolutionary War turned after Washington attacked the Hessian stronghold at Trenton, taking Christophe and the Raw Regiment by surprise.
So, Christopher and his men were surprised in the fog, in the weather.
It must have seemed as if this wave of soldiers came upon them.
Wow. Now the Americans charged Raw's quarters, overran it, and took the cannon from the regiment. Then Colonel Raw charged with his grenadiers. We retook our cannon and retired from the city into the fields. The bravery of it is amazing. Christopher and his fellow soldiers mounted, a desperate counterattack. They were outnumbered with cannon fire. They took a cannon, but were eventually beaten back.
This was not the Hessian battle where they could deploy their battle lines. In many ways, this was a street brawl, a battle in the middle of a city. And that is something that makes it even more difficult and more brutal and vicious.
Now, Colonel Raw commanded all those who are my grenadiers charge. However, after we had entered the city, the rebels in 3 lines marched around us. And as we again tried to retreat, they again brought even cannon into the main street. We had to go past them, but things went badly for us. If the colonel had not been so seriously wounded, they would not have taken us alive. We were too weak, and in the end, all was lost.
Rob Lowe is in Trenton, New Jersey, having just uncovered the events leading to his Hessian ancestors' capture by the Americans during the Revolutionary War.
Now that I know more about my 5 times great-grandfather Christophe Ost's role in the Battle of Trenton, I want to know what happened after he was taken prisoner. I'm traveling west, following the same path my ancestor was marched on his way to prison. I was very conflicted knowing that my Revolutionary War story ends up with my ancestor fighting the revolutionaries. But as I learn about the Hessians, it's a very compelling human story. I feel like I know under what circumstances he got here. But one of the things going forward I'm interested in is, how do you come to a strange land to fight and end up wanting to stay? Daniel is taking me to the old Presbyterian church in Newtown, Pennsylvania, where records show that Hessian soldiers spent their first night in captivity on their forced march to prison near Philadelphia. Christophe Oste and his group on the forced march, this is the destination.
That is their first stop.
Is it this actual church?
This actual church. And I have a diary entry, the last entry, that I would like you to read from Royber about their entrance in Philadelphia after the night here.
January 1777. The American Guard, which escorted us, had orders from General Washington to lead us through the entire city so that we could be seen by everyone in the city. The old women who were present screamed and scolded us in a terrible manner and wanted to strangle us because we had come to America to steal their freedom. Parading the vanquished through the city is as old as time itself. And it's always a march of domination and humiliation. Then General Washington had a broadside posted in the city and surrounding countryside that we were innocent people in this war and were not volunteers, but forced into this war.
And a broadside is a paper.
Is a paper that was posted around the city. I brought you one of those broadsides that were posted and were addressing those Hessian prisoners.
It's in German, obviously, so they can read it.
To make it a little bit easier, we have here an English translation of that broadside.
The resolution has passed that the states will accept all foreigners that choose to become part of these states and who are willing to leave the army of His British Majesty in America. One can imagine that these foreigners prefer land tenure, freedom, security, and the benefit of good laws and mild government in a country where already many of their friends and relatives have happily settled down rather than being exposed to the strains and dangers of a long and bloody war taken against a people that has not committed any crime other than the refusal to exchange its freedom for slavery. A decree by Congress, John Hancock, President. That's amazing. I mean, it's so extraordinary. I mean, we take it for granted because of it's so much a part of our national idealized version of ourselves as Americans. But at the time, it was so revolutionary. And to be vanquished and in a prison and reading something like this, it must have blown their minds. Well, how many of them returned home when they could?
What we know about the Hessians is 15% roughly stayed, 85% went home. Somebody like Christoph took a huge, huge risk. They knew what they had at home, but they knew only here a piece of paper with some promises. They had to jump into the unknown, take that risk, and that is Christoph's story.
So does it mean that if they wanted to take this offer, that he could go free?
Unfortunately, we don't have a military record that he went to one of the guards and said, I saw this pamphlet. What we do know is the Americans didn't have the resources to keep them confined in long-term prisons. Most of these prisoners were loaned out by the Americans and worked there on farms, on shops. What we do know is he disappears from prison.
If he's disappeared now, if he's gone cold and he's disappeared, how in 1909 are they celebrating him in Lima, Ohio?
Something must have told him it's better here
Than there.
than there.
I would love to know what he left behind.
To find out more, to answer these questions, I think you'll have to go to Germany, to the state archives in Marburg, where the Hessian military records are kept.
I'll do it. Marburg, here I come. Thank you.
Now, I want to find out more about Christoph Ost's life before he came to America. So I'm headed to Marburg, Germany.
It's such an inspiring thought to think of everything that Christoph left behind for the promise of something great. He had a life. He would have had friends. He would have had family. But he had to take a leap of faith to give up all he knew in Germany. And he never went back. Why? That's what we're going to find out.
So I'm meeting with Professor Holger Graf at the Marburg State Archives. With his help, I want to find out where my 5 times great-grandfather was born and gain an insight into Christoph's life in Germany.
I was wondering if you had any records here that could help me as I try to learn more about him.
Best is if we look up in this list. Do you know the regiment where he served?
Yes,
with?
in Rahl's regiment.
This is helpful. So this is a compiled list called Hetrina, which is a short form for the Hessian troops in the American War of Independence.
It's alphabetical
It's
lists?
in alphabetical order.
OB, OC, we're looking for OE, Ost,
Yeah.
Adam, Ost, George, Ost, Christoph. Unbelievable, there he is.
But it doesn't say, as far as I can see, anything else about him, I'm afraid.
When I see that a
Yes.
lot of the men have the town that they're from, but there's nothing for Christoph.
No, I'm afraid not. At this point, from this records, I think it looks a bit like a dead end.
Well, I didn't come all the way to Germany for a dead end, I can tell you that.
Rob Lowe is in Germany at the Marburg State Archives. But his search for Christoph Ost's roots has gone cold. Now, Rob is hoping to find out where his 5 times great-grandfather was born and why he left Germany.
What would you recommend would be my next step?
Well, we have seen in the Hetrinal is some Östers, because Christoph Öst is not a very common name. It's not very spread like Miller or Brown or so. And we probably find other Östs in the Hetrinalis and look up where they came from.
So this is a list of towns. What village should I maybe go to?
I would start, I think, in Fürstenhagen. That's the closest from here.
Okay. See if I can find something.
Yes. So we're off in the countryside.
All right.
I still want to know about Christoph's life. Anything that I could find to help frame who he was. Holger is taking me to the village of Fürstenhagen, where the parish preacher has pulled any parish records that might help me in my search.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So these are parish records?
Yeah. Baptisms, marriages, and burials. So we can start here. The first entry
1754.
in the month of August, in English, is Johannes Öster, little son.
Okay, Johannes Öster, so that's his dad.
This is that.
His dad was John as well.
John Öster as well, yeah. In the evening at 10 o'clock born, and the 18th he was baptized, and he named it John Christoph.
Wow, so now we have John Christopher East.
Yeah,
So he was born here in this village.
in this village.
So this is where it all began for me. He would have been baptized here in this church.
Yes, somewhere here must have been the baptismal font.
Wow.
But there are some more books.
What? I don't know what we're going to get that's going to top that.
Well, to be born, you need parents, don't you?
Yes.
So let's see. The copulations from the year 1689 onwards.
Marriages?
Marriages.
1728.
Yeah.
So there's a marriage of Johannes Ost and
Laura.
Laura.
It's a short name for Eleanor.
Laura Knoll. That's the first I've heard of that.
Yes.
I've actually gotten another generation.
I've located Christoph Ost's parents, my 6 times great-grandparents, Laura Knoll and Johannes Ost. Digging further into the parish records, I've discovered that Christoph Ost is the youngest of 8 brothers and sisters.
Wow, that's a big family. Would that have been a normal-sized family?
In this time, it's quite normal.
Quite normal.
5, 7, 8, 10 children.
Wow.
So there's other entries then. They start here. Some informations on the parents of Christoph. Johannes Öster was buried in his age of 62 years, 7 months.
So Christoph's father dies
Yeah.
in April of 1766.
Yeah. And when Christoph was 12 years old.
1770.
February the 18th. So is Johannes Östen, his widow Eleanor was buried, old 61 years.
Basically 5 years before he goes
Yeah.
to America.
Of course, he will not inherit any property from his parents,
Really?
because only the eldest son will inherit the land and the family property.
So I was also wondering, at 22 years old when he left, he could have easily have been married. And we have no record of that.
Younger sons with no occupation, no fortune, they had to stay more or less single and work as a groom on a farm or as a day laborer, or go to the army.
I'm starting to put a picture together that he really has nothing here.
Yeah,
What a different time.
very different.
An amazingly different time.
So no dead end.
No dead end. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It all makes sense to me now that Christoph Oster would choose America based on what his life would have been here. It isn't just that he served as a Hessian. He was of Germany, and that's a perspective I would never have gotten from the name John Christopher East. Puzzle solved.
But there may be more to the story. Back at the hotel, I receive a letter from Josh Taylor. Rob, I found something that I think will make you very happy. I have submitted it to the DAR and have included their response. Josh.
Rob Lowe is in Germany, where he just learned that genealogist Josh Taylor submitted new research about his ancestor, John Christopher East, to the Daughters of the American Revolution.
Dear Mr. Lowe, congratulations. Your ancestor, John Christopher East, has officially been accepted as a patriot by the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution. The document submitted on behalf of your ancestor, a 1782 supply tax list, shows a Stoffel Hessian paying taxes that were specifically raised to pay for material supplied to the Revolutionary War effort. This document was checked and cross-checked by our staff genealogists to make sure that it was your ancestor, and we were able to confirm this. Combined with the knowledge that John Christopher East stayed in America, became an American citizen, and did not return to Germany, shows that he contributed to the Revolutionary War and is considered a patriot. In addition, we are providing you with the necessary documentation to verify John Christopher East's Revolutionary War service, should you be interested in applying to the Sons of the American Revolution. You should provide them with copies. Mr. Lowe, congratulations on having the good fortune of being able to prove with historical documentation that you are descended from a patriot of the American Revolution, John Christopher East. I extend to you my personal invitation to join the National Society of the Sons of the American Revolution. Wow. John Christopher East served on both sides of the American Revolution. I really did want my 5 times great-grandfather to be an American patriot. But I think the way he came to be authenticated is much more powerful, I think, than I was expecting. In spite of having fought against the revolutionaries, he chose America. To choose that ideal is heroic. I'm glad I came on this journey because John Christopher East became more than a name on a newspaper clipping in the Lima, Ohio newspaper. So much of what I am about, my love of politics, my patriotism, I can't help but think that some of his dreams and aspirations were passed down, and I feel them. There's a story of people leaving behind what was safe to embrace what is promised. That's a happy ending.